Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is Joe, aka Joe the Wellness Curator, and this is the Obsidian Mindset Podcast, where we are redefining what wellness means to you. I am so excited to be back. I know you must be thinking, this is 2 weeks in a row he's here. I thought you come out bi-weekly. What's going on? But no, I'm really excited to showcase this interview I had with Twaun, new friend of mine. He's also going to be the other co-lead for the Hubu space. So I spoke about last week when I was interviewing Monroe, but the Hubu space is the Heal Us Bias space where we are catering to what wellness looks like, what healing looks like for the folks in the LGBTQ community. I'm really excited for our first event, which is on Friday, or excuse me, the first event is on Saturday, June 29th, 1:30 to 3 p.m. The Eventbrite will be in the show notes, but we're going to be this specific event is more geared towards black or people of color that identify as man, whether that's bi, whether that's trans, whether that's gay, whether we're here to just talk about what wellness and being black and queer looks like. I'm really excited for what the conversations will bring. I also, and this is unbeknownst to everyone else, but I'm finishing up All Boys Aren't Blue by George Johnson. And I think it's such a perfect time to finishing that book or reading that book, having this event. It's still Pride Month for June. It's also Men's Mental Wellness Month. So there's just a lot of things going on that I think that this event will be very powerful, as well as what we get to discuss, what we get to create, what we get to present, what we get to provide, what we get to heal and be about. So if you know anyone that's going to be in the DMV area, once again, hit the show notes and the bio for the link to RSVP. But right now, I'm here to introduce you to Twaun. Now you're going to be like, who is Twaun? Well, Twaun is a U.S. Army vet that has served his country in various locations across the globe. Since separating from the military, he has been on a journey of self discovery and healing mentally, physically, and spiritually. In 2017, he began to practice yoga and transitioned to an all plant based lifestyle. After years of practicing yoga and taking classes in January 2023, Twaun traveled to Montego Bay, Jamaica to train and become a certified instructor, and also learn the principles and techniques of Kemetic yoga. Since completing his training, Twaun has led many yoga classes across DC and even created his own Neo Soul full class, focusing on healing and meditation in an intimate setting. Not only can he lead Kemetic yoga classes, but Vinyasa and Hot 26 as well. Twaun is committed to building and bridging a healthy community and creating safe spaces that allow people to gain clarity on life. Twaun considers himself not only a yoga instructor, but a healer of his community. Through focusing on holistic mind and lifestyle, he believes you can unleash your best self. So this conversation was basically like the bio. It was just in his own vibe. We learned so much. We talk about his military experience, like we said. We talk about his wellness and healing journey and how he found yoga. He even describes one of his self-created yoga poses called Finding Nemo, and he walks us right through it. So definitely make sure you get your paper and pen ready, take some notes, enjoy your beverage, whether that's water or wine, and enjoy the interview. All right, y'all. How are
Just
you
so you
doing
know.
today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm all right. Just finished work, and
Oh,
ready to get down and enjoy this interview.
yeah. Although I've been locked in the house all day because I was like, the air quality,
Outside.
all this. So
Mm-hmm.
I literally was just like, it's been an easy day. Like I didn't really work out. I did like some yoga this morning, but I'm like, hey, sometimes it's good to just take a break and not really do much. So I've been in the house. I'm like, I'm not. First of all, I'm not trying to get sick. So
Take it. I love take it light. So I guess to start off, and just to see how you're feeling, this is a question I usually ask. What color are you feeling or resonates with you right now?
ooh, I would just go with how my aura, like everything that's happening in that my apartment. So I would say purple.
What
The
what what
royal color.
what what? Give me some context, or what makes you feel that way?
Because whenever you see purple, especially, I mean, like you see the lights through the video,
Mm-hmm.
so it just makes you feel like it gives the vibe of either chill or it can help set a tone of like a very nice relaxed state. Also, it's kind of like it is the color of royalty, so it kind of gives you like a whole essence, a vibe of just kind of like, um, I don't know, grandeur, just a good feeling.
I
Like if
know
you're
that's
sad
right.
and you like see a purple light, I don't think you'll be as sad as you were. It just and it can make you again. I think it's kind of versatile actually because sometimes you see purple in movies and it's like in a darker scene,
Mm-hmm.
but also you can see it in like a sexy scene or you can see it in like a uplifting scene. So yeah, purple. I'm
It's
feeling
just a
purple. I'm
mood.
feeling yeah, yeah. It's just the mood. I'm feeling vibey. I'm feeling you know like I'm in the city doing a
Giving
thing.
jazz. All right.
Yeah,
I,
jazz. I like
it's
that.
giving jazzy.
Hmm.
Okay, so but I want to know who is Twaun, and by that you can do like an elevator pitch, but up to you. What
Okay.
do you want that look to like?
All right. So Twan is me. I am him. He is I. Uh, so Twan is currently a yoga slash holistic wellness practitioner. I became a certified yoga instructor at the top of the year, and since then I've been able to not only to not only get a position in a studio, but also on my own curate events specifically targeting people of color to make them feel whole, to make them feel special, to make them feel seen, and to let them know that wellness looks like so many different things. You don't have to be a certain
Mhm,
phenotype. You don't have to be so slim. You don't have to look like this. You can
mhm,
just show up as you are. That's my work. That's what I love to do. I want to create community. I think I have been able to somewhat do that, and I'm looking to continue to build that. And also, who is Twan? That's the main question. So I'll stay on topic. But Twan is a. I love to travel. I love exploring. I love learning new things. I love interacting with people. And right now, the phase of my life is totally dedicated to not only my continued healing, but helping others find their entrance or to help them along their journey to continue healing as well. But
mhm. You did that. That was good.
yes. Thank you.
So with that, so you basically my next question was going to be what does wellness mean to you or how do you define it? But I think you kind of gave a answer. But I want to know like what do you consider your wellness journey? Because I know you've had a journey. So I'd love to know more about that and how that influences how you coach or how you instruct.
Okay, so just a little background. So my current wellness, I mean, because life goes through cycles. I'm currently at the age of 39, so I've been through a few cycles. So my first, I mean, I'll say my latest wellness or healing journey started in last year, 2022, maybe at the top of the year, and it was just a lot happened in my life. Things just weren't going in a positive direction. I wasn't in a positive mind state. I wasn't in a positive state of being. I just felt like I was getting lost in who I was and what I really wanted to do and needed to do to find my happiness.
Mhm.
So at the crisis mode, I was at the top of it, just kind of like lost and feeling down. And I reached out to the crisis hotline and it's like, hey, I need help. I need to, figure out what's going on with myself. So I did that. They got me in contact with some resources, but I knew that I wanted to find a therapist. Most of all, I've been a therapist before, but I knew I needed a therapist. I wanted to find one that was a Black queer man, and I was able to do that. And I had reached out to him like months before, and it just so happened around this time he just reached back out and I'm like, hey, I finally have an opening. I can get you in, and we can start every week. And so that was just like a blessing that it happened at that time. And so I started working with this mental health professional, and it was just one of the most beautiful experiences. He helped me blossom and heal my inner child, and figure out exactly who Twan is, who I can present to I am now. It helped me understand that I didn't need to have others' acceptance to be accepted of myself.
Mhm.
Like no one else approval really guides any decision I make. It has to first come from within, and I have to be able to execute it if it's given to me, not worry about outside entities or how other people feel are going to perceive it. So I just went through that. And then later in the year, because of that, I wanted to help heal my body as well as my mental and my spiritual. So I started consistently going to yoga, and then something clicked in my mind like, oh my God, this is this thing that I had been dabbling in for like at least 6 years, but I hadn't really taken seriously. So I just started going every day, and I became like consistent yogi. Like every day I was in the studio like 2 to 3 times a day. And there's literally the owner of the studio would tell you now, she's like, I'm one of the most dedicated people because I literally was going 2 or 3 times a day. It was insane, but to me, if it helped fuel me, help give me something to look forward to each day. And full circle moment, I meet another black yogi. He's doing his special yoga, and I had to ask him, "What is this yoga that you're doing? What is this?" And it was Kemetic yoga, which is based in African spirituality, based in ancient Egypt. Is healing. It's about breathing. It's about slowing down. Meditation for Black people. I loved it. I connected with it. So I figured out what I needed to do. Fast forward January this year, I went to the training. I became an instructor. And fast forward, I understand my mission. I'm starting to build community. And yes, so healing for me looks like first finding a therapist, figuring out exactly kind of like making sense of everything. So for me, it's threefold. And then the spiritual aspect, figuring out what do I connect with the time when times get rough, what do I connect with? Do I need to breathe? Do I need to meditate? Do I find like a faith based practice to follow? So that was important for me as well. And then the last part is the wellness, which includes not just like how your physical looks, but how your physical feels, how you feel when you wake up in the morning, the energy that you have. So for me, that was yoga. And also, I love running and fitness in other ways. So yoga has basically consumed my life the last few months, but now I'm getting back into the gym where it's like I want to tone up my body and do different things. But yeah, so those are my three aspects of what healing looks like for me. And the important part for me is to be able to spread this to other queer men or LGBTQIA or just people in general who need healing and say, this is what works for me. It may not be all that works for you, but these are the things that I want to present to let you know this is how I help heal myself. So yes, or this is the journey that started my healing.
I love that. And so just to come back to one thing that you noted, or at least one of the initiation or the catalyst for the last phase, and you mentioned that you were in some crisis mode and feeling lost.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any, especially as a Black gay man, did you feel like there's any stigma or shame before you asked for help? Because I know you did eventually go to the crisis hotline. Was there like doubt before you did that, or was it just like,
Yeah,
okay, I need to do that?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just one of those things of everyone. I think for myself, from my experience, I've been basically working since I was 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like having a job consistently. I was in the military, things like this. And so I only know being able to show up for myself, take care of myself,
Mm.
and have no one else to rely on. So I'm getting to crisis mode. I'm fidgety. I'm anxious, but also I still have to go to work every day. I still have to perform. Still have to do this, but I'm living unhealthy. I'm just eating whatever. I'm not really taking care of my body. So the question was, I'm sorry, go back to the question. I got off track.
No, that was good context though. So I'm
Uh-huh.
asking, so for the crisis mode or feeling lost, before you asked for
Okay,
help,
yes.
before you did that,
Mm-hmm.
was there any stigma, shame, judgment for yourself that kind of maybe prevented you from doing it right away, or uh, things of that nature?
Actually, there wasn't too much of a stigma. Of course, I know I had to take care of myself. So it's one of those things you see a movie and you see, I don't know how much I can say on this podcast, but you see like the white woman who has a crisis and she um, shuts down everything. She doesn't have a job because she doesn't need one. She shuts down, she goes on vacation. I can't do that, right?
Right.
So I still had to do these things, but I had already reached out, like I mentioned earlier, I had already reached out to a therapist. I knew that I needed
Got it.
help, I needed guidance. It's just that it took so long. And that's one thing, like, if they can find a way to make processes better or I guess the way would be to have more therapists, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we live in an area where, there are a lot of Black people and you have a lot of options, but also you have people who are possibly want a certain type of therapist, and there
Yep.
are only so few Black men who do this. Um, so that was part of it. I was waiting for that because when I reached out to the crisis line, they got me in contact with the VA and things like that. But that wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't. It didn't align with what I needed at the time. So
Got it. Okay. And so you discuss a little bit off to another topic, but you mentioned um, just wanting to be able to create those spaces for Black, queer men, LGBTQ. So,
yeah.
what's based off your experiences, how has being a Black gay man affected what wellness looks like to you?
How has it affected what wellness looks like to me? So
Mhm,
first of all, I just want to say that when I go out and when I go out into the world, I'm not
mhm,
one of those people who feels always the need to say,
mm,
look at me. I'm Twaun. I'm a yoga instructor, and I'm a gay man. So I don't present. I just present myself as I'm Twaun. So
mhm,
whatever you get from that, or whatever I present to you, that's who I am. I'm not hiding anything, but it's just who I am.
mhm,
So for me, wellness, like for me, I think I have more of a rhythm of what how things look like. Like I can teach a class and bring my personality, like wear my dangly earring, or I go wear gold teeth sometime, like wear my gold teeth, or be as flamboyant as I want to be, because I've learned, and not just. So one thing I mentioned was that I want to create spaces for Black women and LGBTQIA, and also women have been very perceptive of like supporting me like
mm,
throughout my thing. So I cannot say that it's just those communities, because women have literally been the catalyst of most of my wellness experiences that I've curated. So shout out to all my sisters out there. So
shout outs.
they're yeah. Okay, so wellness has looked like basically um as a Black queer man, it just looked so first of all, one of the things is that I I go to a studio
Mhm,
where there aren't too many Black
people.
gay men who are 6 foot tall and broad shoulders showing up in the studio. There
Mhm,
aren't too many that are consistent every single day.
mhm,
So first of all, I have to show up as a Black man. And then, I mean, no one asked me my sexuality, but I'm sure some people probably speculate or something like that. But showing up as a Black man who is authentically living himself and not trying to like just say, "Oh, I like this girl" or something like that to
mhm,
make it seem as if some closeted man. So to me, it just looked like being as authentic as I can be, wearing what I want to wear. Because if I feel happy, or if I look in the mirror in the studio and see the image of myself and be like, I like what I see, then that's gonna make me perform better, or that's gonna make me just be more content in the room. Because quick story, when I first showed up in this studio in September, baby. First of all, it's a hot yoga studio, so it's hard to stay
oh,
in the room because it was hot as heck. But on top of that, I didn't realize how much weight I had gained.
mm,
And so I walk in and I take off my shirt because I'm like, oh, it's a hot yoga studio. Everybody has their shirt off. I look in the mirror and was like, when did my stomach get this big? Like, when did we get here? So
mhm.
it was also the realization, like, that you here.
Yeah.
So you need to keep coming here specifically because we need to get this together. So yes, I had to look in that mirror every day and be like, ooh, baby, that
That's where we are.
the
Mm.
stomach is stomaching, and we need to unbig our backs. They weren't saying that then, but
Not
everybody's saying it
that.
now. This back needs to get a little unbigged in the not cute way. So yes, for myself, and I'm saying I'm not like shaming any like body things. I'm
But
saying like
for
for myself,
me,
what for
right.
me and my household, I wanted to unbig my back a little. So so part of it was literally me forcing myself every day to go there. There were days I wanted to cry, like what, like how did you get here? But
Mhm.
also I knew that I won't be here forever if I stay consistent and keep doing this thing. So yes, that's
Gotcha.
how it has looked for me as a Black gay man. Like it literally has helped me heal because it's like my inner child is like, in order to get better, you got to keep working. But also, you're looking in this mirror every day. You have to accept yourself in order to perform your best. I can't. I've literally met someone who said they don't do Bikram yoga or hot yoga because there's a mirror there, and they
Wow.
hate looking at themselves. Someone told me they hate looking at themselves, and I should never hear anyone say that. I've been there, but I don't want to hear anyone say that, and I would never say that about myself again. Hopefully, inshallah. But yeah, so that's a thing of like showing up, looking in that mirror, and moving your body in ways that you probably haven't before. Maybe some of the poses aren't the most flattering for your body, but just doing it and staying consistent with it is, to me, it's just like every time I go now, I can just do these things without even thinking about it. But I'm still trying to improve.
Hmm.
My body looks better because I stay consistent and I stayed on this path that this is what I need for myself. So,
Yeah, I appreciate that. And what I received from that is, even if it's looking at the mirror, it's just authenticity that
yeah,
shows up in wellness, regardless of its whatever that looks like. And you
hmm
don't need to, like you said, don't need to be flashy, or you don't need to say it out loud. But when you show up, wellness shows up in
right.
all forms.
Even Jennifer Lewis says that about looking in the mirror. She's like, if you need to look in the mirror every
Mm,
day, and if you cannot say I like what I see, you need to keep staring in that mirror.
that's
That's true. That is so true. But one thing I want to say about not being flashy, I have a homegirl that comes to my yoga class, and one day she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be to yoga tomorrow. I hope this. I look forward to seeing you at the class." And she said, "When I see you, I better get a period because a lot of times." So the more I get comfortable with teaching and I can be like more free, a lot
mhm.
of times I'll see somebody doing something like, okay, I see you sis, period. And like I'm letting I'm happy you up like, yes, queen, like, because I love seeing black people do yoga. Like I love it. People of color, whoever, I love seeing people do yoga and expand their bodies and explore their bodies. There's so
Mm,
much untapped potential in people's bodies that they're not aware of that I still haven't discovered in myself. And every day I grow, I can do something. It makes me feel accomplished. Like, wow, look at it, where I started, where I was so stiff, and look at me now, and I still want to improve. So it's always a work to do. So she said, when I see you, I want to hear you say period, and I see her like, period, yes, ma'am, let's go, let's go. So it's just like that's the way I show up. I'm like, now I could just be fun. I could be in class. I can make a joke in the middle of an asana to make people just relax a little bit because it's not about being so serious. It's about like unwinding, relaxing, enjoying, and opening the mind and expanding and saying, not saying I can't do that. It's just like, let me try it. Now, it might not
mhm.
look like the teacher or like the person to the left or right of me, but at least I tried to,
Yep.
I touched my toe. I might not have picked it up, but I touched it. So,
Mhm.
yeah. And I love,
Period.
a lot of times when I teach my classes, like you again along how I show up for wellness, how wellness shows up for me. When I teach my classes, to hear people feedback, the first thing I hear is, "Oh, I love your music. I love the vibe. Everything was on point." It's like because literally I'm creating for you, like the
Mhm.
experience that I have at home when I'm practicing my yoga, and that's how I want it to always be. Even if it's outside, I need to light incense. I sage the
I know
area. I
that's
put
right.
on my music, and yeah, so that's that.
All right, so I have some yoga questions now. What are some favorite
Okay.
songs to put in or for your one of your flows? Because I know you do neo
Ooh.
soul, right? Neo
Yes, yeah,
soul.
yeah. So I create like a neo soul flow thing. So some of my songs right now, so I have a playlist. Whenever I make playlists for yoga, I listen to that playlist all week. Like I have a playlist for a upcoming yoga class. I've been listening to it all week because I love my music too. So it's not just because it's yoga, but also I know it so well that if I know a song is gonna come up next, things like that. So some of my favorite songs is Jill Scott, "He Loves Me" because it's so flowy and just like beautiful. Erica Badu, she has a few songs that are like, but one time I in the mix I threw in not Truth Hurts. Is it
Wait, that's uh,
she had
wait,
this
that's
song My Back is Aching from All Love Making, had like an Indian tune to it. I can't think of it right now,
wait, no,
but
it wasn't a Truth Hurts? Was or
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
it
like
is Truth.
I
It's
see
Truth
it.
Hurts.
Yeah, yeah,
You're probably
I know.
thinking of a master plan. It had a rapper in it too.
Yeah, okay, I'm here.
My back from all love making. I can't really sing
Okay,
like that, but
I was like, okay, a few notes.
but let me see. I'm pretty sure. Let me find it real quick. Sorry.
Okay.
Actually, I can't find it. Okay, here we go. Oops. No, is it okay? I did have it on here, but I can't find it right now. But one of the songs, like I'll throw in things like if I'm doing neo soul, whenever, wherever by Maxwell. That's a good
Mm.
one. Love Is You by Chrisette Michelle. Oh my god, every time I play this song, it's just so beautiful. first of all, I love Chrisette Michele,
Mm.
but "Love Is You" by Chrisette Michele is just like one of my favorites. But they're like the playlist that I'm currently listening to. They're like some newer artists and things like that who I
Okay.
love. But there's this one song by a young lady. Her name is Kyma, Kyma, and she has a song called "I Love Myself."
Hmm.
And it's just affirmative. It's beautiful. It's almost as if she's talking to herself and she's just loving on herself, and it gets emotional. But also when you listen to it, it's like you're talking to yourself by listening to her music. So
Okay.
things like that, things that affirm people. I love affirming music. I love jazzy music. Like there's a guy named Alpha Mist from London. He's a jazz artist who I had the pleasure of seeing in San Francisco the other month, well, last month. So yeah, I love jazz. I love R&B, neo soul,
Okay.
things like that. Think music that makes me feel good, and I
Love.
love throwing in like some older songs that people be like, "Oh, I haven't
I haven't
heard that
heard
in a
that.
while." They
No.
start.
Right.
But one thing I really love about Black people in the yoga class, there's another yoga class I go to with this young lady in DC. She teaches when people sing aloud. I love it because Black people, we love expressing ourselves in
It
that
is.
way, and so I love it. Like I will sing along to the song, so I don't want people come to my class and be like, I can't sing. Yes, you can. You can do whatever you want. If you want to
Okay.
do a little two step, do a little two step. So
Whatever moves your soul.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
I love that. Okay, so next yoga question: what is the last? So I don't. All right, so you might have to explain a little bit, but you
Okay.
would like to challenge yourself. What is the last yoga pose or flow that you did that you were impressed that you got through it or you were able to get through? And what's
hmm
one that you're kind of working through now? One that you might not have perfected yet, but you're like working through it now.
Okay, so one that I am proud that I can do, I guess, without too much thought. So I created a flow. I call it Finding Nemo. I be coming up with crazy stuff. Like if I'm flowing, I just come in, and it's basically balancing on one leg for like a longer period of time and going through three different
Ooh.
poses on that. But I came up with it because I just love like positions that allow your body to kind of like how can I explain it? That allows your legs to lengthen because I love lengthening poses,
Got
like
it.
things that allow your body to stretch. So I call it Finding Nemo. So basically, I'll explain it, but a lot of people might not understand. But you'll start in a downward dog, and then
Okay.
eventually you will come up to a half moon pose, which is like opening up your hips to the side. And
Yep.
then you'll transition into a what we call balancing stick, where your hands are pointed forward, and your leg is still pointed straight back, your toes are still pointed straight back, and then you come down to a standing split, which is like basically your head comes down
To
to
the your toe
towards your toe, but in that other leg that's still the right leg, if it's pointed back, then you eventually
goes up.
point as up as possible to a half
Ooh.
split, and then you come down by walking out a little bit, and then slowly coming down with like that leg into things. So I call it Finding
Ooh.
Nemo.
That's
But yeah,
that's
but I
tricky little
love,
girl.
yeah, I love intense things like that. But one thing that I'm working through, although I can do all of that, one of the basic poses that not all yogis can do it, but it's very simple. Is lotus pose. So lotus is basically sitting with your legs crossed and then like pulling the feet up above the thighs. So
Hmm.
you've seen it a lot of times with monks and
Yep.
Buddhas and things like this when people are meditating. So that's one pose that I haven't been able to, as of yet, successfully do. So I'm working on half lotus right now, at least getting one leg up and then other leg. And that only comes because your hips have to be open. A lot of people
I was about
have
to
tight
say,
hips.
yeah, them hips.
They have to be really open. A lot of people have tight hips. So one thing I've learned on this discovery journey is that your hips store a lot of trauma. So basically,
Oof.
every time I open my hips, it's emotional. I almost feel like sometimes I want to cry if it's like a really good stretch because
Hmm.
it's almost like you have to let go. And a lot of us don't know how to let go. We think we do, but we don't. You have to let go of everything. You literally have to be so vulnerable, especially if somebody else is helping you with this. You have to be so vulnerable and let that person push your body down, and just opening up.
Hmm.
And because there's a lot of intensity and tightness, because you're thinking, "Oh, this hurts," and it's not that it hurts; it's that your mind, everything connected, is not letting
And
you
you
just
stiffen
open
up.
up and just be free. Yeah.
You're like, whoa, you're too
So
close.
I'm working through that. I'm getting better. I'm way better than I used to be. So that's one thing about being a yoga instructor. A lot of people have this misconception that you need to be able to that you have to be able to do everything. It's not about being able to do everything. It's about when you show up your spirit and how you lead people. That's really what it's about. You know?
Of that. So I know that one of your things or one of your calls is to create safe spaces or create spaces. So what is, when you're being intentional about creating spaces, what do you look to do? What do you look to make sure it's in that space? And yeah, before my next question, that's it. Like, how do you create a space?
Okay. So for me, there are elements that I look for. So I look for
Yes.
scent.
Okay.
So as I
I'm
mentioned earlier, I look for the scent and I look for visual and I look for something that you're going to remember from this class, even if it's something that you physically take away or mentally take away. So I do a lot of things intentionally, and I probably shouldn't tell my secrets. But some of the things that I do is,
we're getting
as I
exclusives.
mentioned, I light I light incense. Also, I sage the area just to cleanse the
Mm-hmm.
space and to cleanse myself. And then, as far as visual, I love. So a lot of times for neo soul, I would just have like a bouquet of roses and like a vase, and also strategically place the candles. I mean the incense in different places, and I also have like little candles around, things like that, creating visuals, all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as the experience of leaving with, a lot of times I give out the rose at the end of the class, or I make sure I partner with a guy named Mayat Sons. He does wellness teas, so I have him there, and he will, give people free samples or provide them tea. So you will remember, oh, I had this amazing tea. Where did I have it at? I had it at Twaun's class, and da 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 da. And also, I do like things on purpose. For example, I will wear like a jacket or a full like kimono type look or something like that. So you'll see me in this as the breathing exercise begins, but before we start the asanas after meditation, then I'll probably just have on like a tank top and shorts because I'm like, oh, I'm bringing you in. This is my ceremony look, and then we're getting to the more physical part, and then at the end I close out, and I'm probably back into my jacket or
Back to
whatever I
the
had on.
okay
Yeah, yeah. So it's
outfit
a whole
change, little reveal,
yeah.
reveal.
So there's a book that I read by Maladomo Patrice Somé. I think that's how you say his name, but he wrote a book called The Healing Spirit or The Healing Wisdom of Africa, and I don't have the book right now. I'll let someone borrow it, but The Healing Wisdom or Healing Spirit of Africa. And so basically he's a shaman, or he was a shaman, and he was a part of a tribe in West Africa, and as a kid he was taken away from his tribe, raised in like this basically like a commune or a religious school, and then he through spirit he was found his way back to his ancestors. Like there was a calling for him to go back to his village, so he goes back. He goes through the induction ceremony, which is usually done at a younger age, but he does it older because he came back as an older man. But he talks about rituals, and he talks about everything that you do, especially when you're creating a space of healing or wellness or anything. You need to create. It needs to be a ritual. It needs to be a way that you do it to get things started. You can't. I don't want to just show up and be like, "All right, y'all, what's up? Let's go. Let's get at it." I need you to come into it. I always start with deep breathing and meditation because I don't want to just start flowing and you're still outside,
Right. Still at work
mentally.
or
So
still
yeah,
like that.
we need smell, we need visual, and we need an experience with something that you can remember.
Giving us exclusives. About to put that. All right. So on the flip side,
hmm
for folks that are looking for spaces, what would your advice be to them?
Folks that are looking for spaces,
Mm-hmm.
I would say a lot of times these days it's easier because although algorithms make people uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the algorithm be algorithming. Like there are things that I found because the algorithm. And so I would say just be on quick story, like with Instagram, your social media, you have to be intentional. You have to be
Yep.
intentional with the people that you follow. You have to be intentional with your likes. You have to be intentional with what you consume. Because if you're consuming violence, this, then you're not going to more than likely probably engage with the wellness space because it's not part of your algorithm. So for myself, I just learned to be intentional about who I follow, how I follow them, how I engage with people, and I'm probably going to find wellness activities. People are going to like come across my
That's so
page or
real.
come across others' pages. So first of all, you have to be intentional about like what you put out energetically, not just on social media. I would say energetically, because you're going to receive back what you put out, right? Um, so just being intentional, things will come to you. You will find the right community. If you're like, you say, hey, I want to learn how to do yoga, and you Google yoga classes near you, go to the studio. You might not like that studio. You try another studio. So
Mhm.
you just have to be open to like trying new experiences, looking for things, maybe just if you see somebody if you're walking down the street and you see somebody with some funky looking pants that are like MC Hammer pants, it's probably me. But that person probably can lead you to like a yoga class or wellness space. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good. Being open and intentional. Yeah, I never like I know people always complain about algorithms and I am people. But that is
Hmm.
very true. You do have to be very intentional. I always use my explore page to see where the state of my algorithm. Let's
Right.
just say that if it looks kind of not the way I want to be presenting or the way I want to be thinking,
Uh
I'm like, okay, I need to change some things. Because you can't. I was gonna say you can't hide from it, but I'm sure there are ways to doing it. But basically, just being more intentional, open about what you
right.
actually want.
Because I
Um,
mean that person twerking in them shorts may
it's
look good,
it right.
but
It's
they might not get to do what you trying to get. And
yes,
if it
or
is,
or
kudos to
maybe
you. You
right,
know, yeah.
right. Just know what you want and be intentional. That's
Right.
what I just know.
Be who you
There
are
we go.
for your
Your
pride.
pride.
This
Oh,
that gay month because you're gay and stuff.
I
Hmm.
got you Skittles because they're gay.
Right.
Um, so okay, one part that I want to touch on before my last section is the military. So what was your experience like in the military, and how has that impacted your wellness or how you perceive wellness
Mm.
now?
So for me, so I joined the Marines at 18. I went to boot camp
Mm-hmm.
like right after high school. And for me, I was in marching band in high school. Like
Mm,
I was dedicated. Like that was my thing. But I was always a chubby kid and I never really like worked out. Like in a now we did work like
what'd
for
you play?
marching band. I played trumpet and
Me
trombone and also
too.
was a drum. Okay. I was also a drum major in high school.
Oh,
So
virtue.
so I so I so I had done marching band, but I hadn't done like work where you're like doing all these push-ups or pull-ups and things like that. So I hadn't done like football type stuff or running extremely long distances, things like that. So I wasn't in that kind of shape.
Got it.
Um, and so when I joined the Marines, I had tapped into like a physical fitness world. I was like, oh my God, like it's everywhere. Like literally every morning you're waking up to work out. That's like
Mm-hmm.
the thing. And then in boot camp, you're working out all day basically. So that was my first introduction. And I didn't realize I was a runner until I joined the military. I was like, oh my God, I'm a runner. I was good at
Oh,
this. Like I remember we had to run 3 miles in the Marines, and my fastest time was like 17 minutes. And 3 miles, that's actually a pretty good time.
it is.
And I've had moments throughout the army. I was in the army as well, but I had moments throughout the army where I was the fastest person, like my company or my unit. But I didn't know these things until I joined the military. So physical fitness wise, it was amazing. Like
Got it.
um, I started hiking in the military because I lived in South Korea.
Wow.
Um, so many great opportunities came because of the military. So although I got out, I didn't retire. I got out and because I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I wanted to try something else. I want to have a different life.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to travel, see the world because of it. I met so many amazing people. Some people I'm still in contact with to this day. I learned that I have a desire to travel, explore the world. I wouldn't have known that because of that. And I also learned that I love physical fitness. I love how I look and feel when I'm in shape, when I'm
Mm-hmm.
my best self, when I'm focused, which really it's so funny. As many times as I try to deter away from the military lifestyle of wake up at this time, do these things, when I come back to it, my life is so much better. Literally, everybody who knows me know that I'm not for the streets. I be at home in bed by like 9:30 every night, even on the weekends. I love waking up at 4:30 a.m. to
Woo.
start my day, breathing exercises, going to the gym or going to the studio, or just taking time for myself. So I love a rigid schedule of like, not a rigid schedule of like a day plan, but a schedule of I go to bed at a decent hour. I don't feel the force to stay out. I don't feel the force to be in the streets. And I'll wake up, basically kind of like before the sun because I enjoyed like that quiet time, that time I could just like focus on myself. So it has impacted my ways in a lot of my life in a lot of positive ways as far as physical with fitness and wellness. Because my first yoga class was when I was in the army. I was in Kuwait for a while, and they had yoga classes every day, and I became a spin instructor when I was in the army. So it introduced me
Oh
to
shit!
wellness and stuff. Yeah,
You
I've
did
done
it
a
all.
lot of things. I've done things. I've lived
I'm the
lives.
little things.
Right. I've lived lives. So yeah, so because of the military, because of the people I met, it allowed me to explore wellness and fitness and things like that. And it opened me up into the world of like the basis of like where I am today, I think. So yeah.
Dope. And I think the last thing you touched on it is travel. So a lot of people don't associate travel with wellness, but for me, I do.
Mm,
So I would love to know how travel and wellness kind of interacts for you, and I would love to hear about your last trip. That's,
okay. Go ahead.
no, that
That
was
was it.
it. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So for me, travel awakens something in me. I love
Mm,
exploring. I love learning new people. I love just sitting back and observing how people interact in different countries, how they move about. I don't go to a country and expect people to cater to me.
mm, mhm.
I want to be immersed. I want to be a little nervous or a little like I have no idea what's going on, but I'm gonna figure this out. But also, I'm kind of an expert in the fact because I've lived abroad twice. I've lived in Korea twice. I lived in Germany. I lived in Kuwait. So because I've lived abroad, I kind of already have that immersion experience of how to kind of, even though something may be stressful, I don't understand, figure it out. I've
Mhm.
learned how to like go by body language. Like literally most communication I've learned because of these experiences is nonverbal.
Mm.
Like if you have a if you have a basically if you and another person are on the same wavelength of what you're trying to accomplish or figure out, you're gonna figure it out basically.
Mhm.
Um, so I think travel is important for me, for my mental, for me to go and see other things, be awakened, take time and just relax at the beach. Take time and literally as I mentioned with my yoga classes, when I travel, I take my incense, I take my sage, I still do my routine.
The same routine.
Um, but the interesting thing, it took me going to therapy this last time to understand I didn't need other people's approval. Before I would be uncomfortable, I would like go out drinking and like stay out late and be like, oh, I'm gonna sleep in the next day. But I was missing out on what I really enjoyed or what I needed to make my life feel better. So when I stopped drinking, when I was like, I don't like this for myself, I loved a good cocktail. I love a good mocktail now. So, but I don't feel the need to be out past a certain time. I remember times being like, oh, I'm so exhausted and I have so much to do tomorrow, but okay, girl, let's go out.
Right. I'm
And
like,
it's like, and I
come on,
was
let's go turn up.
miserable. I was miserable. I may have a great time, but I was miserable and I didn't like it. And now I'm like, if you have a day party between 2 and 6 p.m., I will be
Count
there.
me in. Right. Count
If
me
it
in.
if it starts at 6, I will be there. Now past 7 or 8, you getting close. I might not be there. So and my friends are aware of this. I tell people this and they respect it because that's just I've accepted that's who I am and they've
Boundaries.
accepted it. And so yeah. But yeah, so travel, I do the same things. So my recent trip, I recently traveled to Brazil. I went to Salvador Bahia. And I've always been drawn to this place, just because the pictures I've seen, I am on a spiritual awakening or a spiritual journey that started in 2017. Part of that, I'll just go in a little bit of that. Part of that is I became plant-based, vegan. I started yoga at that time. That's when I really started
Mhm.
practicing, learning it and just kind of like on a spiritual journey of figuring out who I am, like what do I tap into, what energy source, and kind of getting in alignment and meeting people who are on a spiritual journey. So Bahia is very spiritual, it's very beautiful. What I knew about it before I went was that it has a lot of black people there, and Brazil has the largest African population outside of the continent of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to go and see what this culture was about, what it was like. I was drawn there, and it was beautiful. Every day, like I swear, it was like a movie almost. Like you see color everywhere, murals everywhere
Mm-hmm.
of black faces on these murals, like showing the beauty of black people and like the just like a not just like a urban way in so many different ways. And you hear music, you see it, you hear drums as you're sitting out eating lunch. People are blasting music from their houses. Everywhere I went, like different neighborhoods, they have samba schools.
Mm-hmm.
Carnival is big there, so people are always practicing and dancing. It was so beautiful to see, tap into. I learned about the Orishas there. Like they have a religion called Candomblé, and I was just able to just like kind of like meet people and the right people when I needed them. I remember one day I was in a vegan restaurant. No one there spoke English, and it just so happened. Well, and I'll just say in Salvador, most of the people speak Portuguese. English isn't very isn't taught
Mm-hmm.
there as much as like areas like Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, but in Salvador, most people don't speak English. So I literally just had to figure things out. And one day I was at a restaurant, and it was one of those days where I was kind of like exhausted, and I was just like, "Oh, it's so hot," and I just want to like get some food. And this guy just walks up, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's just speaking English, and he helps me out. And then this other lady's in the same place speaking English. I was like, "God, I get it. Alignment. Yes, I'm here. I understand. Yes."
Receipts.
So things like that happen for me, even when I have a day where travel isn't always beautiful, but
Mm-hmm.
you might have a stressful moment. But when you even when I have a stressful moment, there's always something I can just be like, oh, this helps that day or whatever. But as I mentioned, travel is important for me for wellness because I can see other things and I can experience them in a different way. And it's just a break. Sometimes we need a break from our normal life or the things that we do all the time. For me, when I was in Brazil, every morning I woke up, I meditated or chilled or, did whatever I needed to do. And then every day I went to the beach and I went for a run and I went for a swim. And I would do like maybe some yoga on the beach, but every day I had to go to the beach and have a fresh coconut. It's just the things I had to do. If I
Have
didn't, I
your
probably would have felt
That's your
weird.
routine.
Yeah,
That
and so
is
when I
your-
came back, I was actually sad, and I still kind of am. Like, I need this life every day, and you know, I would love to eventually just explore the world and just do that. But for right now, I'm here doing this work and these things. But travel is important because it allows me that break and it inspires me. Like I know in my next yoga class that I teach that I will incorporate some of my experience and my energy will be different because of that experience. Even the
Mm.
people that I've seen since my trip, like you, uh, people have said, "Oh my God, you're glowing," or "Your energy is so different." I didn't even notice it, but I needed it, and I'm glad I had it, and I'm glad my energy is different. And I can spread this to other people. So yes, it's important for wellness because of all of the things that I mentioned in my long spill. So
No, that was perfect. I was about to go into my own spiel about Brazil. I love
yes,
Brazil. Brazil, Salvador.
yes.
I Speaking of like energy, so I'll say it real quickly. So I went to Salvador, loved it. I think I went for there was happened to been like a musical parade or musical festival
Mm-hmm.
that weekend. So I went to that, and everyone was super friendly. I went solo trip and just met so many friendly people. People, like you said, people that don't speak much English, but the alignment was there. Everyone was super black. Music everywhere. It just felt like I don't know, like a fairy. I don't know. It just felt like a fairy tale, but make it
They
black.
did.
Like it was just
Mm-hmm.
so there was this hiking, this hike that I heard about, and this really nice summit that was supposed to be very famous, like an hour away. So I took an Uber there, and there was not that much phone service when I got there. Didn't know that. So I went
Mm-hmm.
out, started hiking, and realized there was no service. So I didn't know where I was going at that point. And these four people from Salvador, Brazilians, came up to me, must have seen the confusion in my face, didn't speak any English, but they started texting me, like using their phones to communicate with
Mm-hmm.
me, using Google Translate to just be like, "Oh yeah, where are you trying to go?" And I told them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going there too." Follow them the whole way, mind you. They could have been you,
Yes.
anything could have happened, but it was just such good energy. I felt like I was
Mm-hmm.
safe. I felt like they were inviting me. They showed me things I didn't know about. They taught me history I didn't know about from the Salvador.
Yeah.
We ended up taking dope pictures. They ended up driving me to some place to get famous ice cream, and we ended up on the beach with ice cream and beer and just chilled for like half the day. And then they brought me
Mm-hmm.
home, which is just like, okay, saying that story all now, a lot of risks were there, but
Yeah.
the moment it just felt right. Everyone felt cool. It was, yeah, it was, and I think that is something that I love about travel as well. You just always get to learn. Still keep the guard up as
Hmm.
native people that are from the US, but allowing yourself to be, like you said, open and intentional and receive whatever is there for you to receive. Because you miss
Hmm.
those opportunities, especially if you're in the US or closed off or closed minded.
And like you said, they basically were guides for you in that moment, and there's always a guide. Like
Oh, ooh.
literally, I there's always a guide along the way. Like it's like whatever simulation we in, somebody enters chat and like, hey, boo, baby, come here, let me help you
Let me
out.
help you out.
Like I yeah. So there, when I was in Salvador, I met one day I took a tour with a tour guide. He's from Salvador, and this young lady from well, she's from the UK. She was there, and amazing spirit, beautiful. We had the tour guide. I think our tour went over like an hour because all of us had just such a great connection. We loved talking and just. He took me to meet this lady who taught me about the Orishas and kind of like did a reading for me, things like that, and everything was just aligned and beautiful. After the tour, me and another young lady, her name is Alexis, we end up going to dinner. We end up going to the beach. We end up having a full day together, and it was just so magical. It was like one of those things where that's what I love about travel. You just have random moments. Like it wasn't planned; it just happened.
Yes.
So yeah,
Random magical
yeah.
moments.
Two black people from different parts of the world, just like, oh, we're here, and then it just so happened I was in Sao Paulo the same time she was there on my way back. I was there for 2 days, and she was there at the same time, so we hung out there, and it was just like, yeah, I love
Connections.
those kind of connections. Yeah.
All right, so we going. When are we going? Well, I know you're super going
Oh
too.
yeah, I might be moving in.
All
So
right.
yeah.
So,
I know I'm definitely going back for Carnival next year. So yeah,
when is that? January?
February,
February.
January, and then I
Let
was
me
thinking
in.
about
Let
going in
me.
August, but that might be too soon. We'll
Oh,
see. Yeah,
we have to talk about February.
yeah, yeah.
Um, that was good. So I think the way I want to the way I like to end is always asking what is some advice for people that are either starting their wellness journey or specifically for yoga, people that might be new or feel like yoga is not for them. What is some advice that you have for those folks that are listening?
I would say first off, like everybody has a natural talent or gift. That's
Mm-hmm.
first. So the one of the things I mentioned, try different things. If you
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm not good at yoga, I'm not flexible, I'm not flexible. But if you say I'm not good at yoga, I'm not flexible, but I kind of like what people doing, try yoga class. There's so many different types of yoga, forms of yoga. Just try something, or find somebody on Instagram who you think cute or whatever, and talk to them, ask them, or follow their stuff. Or find a YouTube video. That's how I first started learning on my own was YouTube, just like
Mm-hmm.
following videos. So I would say just try different things. And it may not be yoga but a lot of times I think when people start a wellness or fitness journey, they look at others. That's something you cannot do. It
Mm-hmm.
will put you down a dark path because if you look at this guy and be like, I want abs and arms like him, you will never have abs and arms like him. You may get a nice size and it may look good for your body, but it's for your body. You have to cater things for yourself. You have to find a trainer that is open and honest with you about your goals. Like you may have a goal and then be like, hey, that's not that's that's probably something we can work towards, but let's be realistic about where
Mm-hmm.
you're starting from, things like that, because nothing happens overnight. My body's constantly changing. Even when I was like trying my hardest to like lose weight really fast and things like this, and I just slow down and just allow my body to be. Every day my body's changing because I'm continuing to train and I try to eat as best as I can. I'm not perfect, but I try to eat as best as I can. Right. But I would say be realistic about your goals. Find something that works for you. Just try different things and also just take it slow, take it easy, don't rush into it. um, it's a journey, it's continuous. You want something that you can continue. If you start a wellness journey, you be like, I'm gonna go to the gym every day, I'm gonna run 10 miles, and you know that that's not natural for you to do. Eventually you're gonna fall off from that, and you may lose
Right.
a lot of weight, but you're gonna gain weight back because your body works with like how you're training, different things like that. I'm not an expert on all how all that works, but from my experience, if you cannot keep that up, you want something that can last throughout your life and that you
Right.
continue to grow in, that you can continue to see progress in. You don't just want to like put yourself in this box and be like, I'm only this. Because as I mentioned in my journey, I was just doing strict yoga for a few months because I got so into it and I wanted to keep improving. But now I'm realizing I need to start back lifting weights. I love running, so I want to get back in there. I want to have a full circle like wellness thing, and I want to try other things. So yeah, those are just a few tips I would say.
I love it. All right. So the end is when you can let folks know where to find you and any shameless plugs or how they can contact you.
Okay, so I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Yoga by Twaun, Twaun. And I have my classes on there. My link tree is on there whenever I'm having curated classes. I teach every Monday at Hot Yoga Capitol Hill in DC, located on H Street at the 5:30 p.m. for our Hot 90 26 and 2 class. And I teach on Thursday mornings in DC at Althea Tanner Park. It's a free class. That is a free class for the community. So it's at 6:30 a.m. It's a sunrise yoga class. So I hope to see if you're interested in any of those classes. Hope to see you there. And I'm always taking classes at other places. So if you see me around, speak. I will
Say
speak
hi.
back. I love interacting with other people and meeting folks and yeah, learning. So yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Twaun, for taking time out to talk with us.
Thank you
And
for
let's
having me. I appreciate it.
Ashe. And as we like to say, thank you for picking to you today. Bye, y'all.
Period.